Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is Monday, April 8th. Welcome to this week's installment of the weekly project call. We've got a great set of updates coming to you from across the Mozilla Project. As is customary, we start off with Friends of Mozilla. The Add-Ons team would like to thank Zitronella for helping bring potentially malicious extensions to our attention by filing more than 30 block listing bugs over the last 4 weeks. Thank you for helping keep our ecosystem safe, Zitronella. The Reps Council Spring 2019 election voting has just started. Thanks to Felipe, Irvin, Luis, Mayur, Prathamesh, Shahid, Vishal, and Juliana for running for the open slots. If you're a rep, you want to take this time to head over to the Reps portal and cast your vote. You have until April 15th. QA from all candidates can be found in the discourse linked in the wiki. Congratulations to all of our Reps nominees and good luck in the election. All of us here on the Dev Relations team would like to give a shout out to Mozilla Tech speakers Shagufta, Eugenio, Giannis, Trishul, and Rabimba, who delivered talks this past week at various conferences and events around the globe. Additionally, we want to give special shout out to two of our newest tech speakers, Marco and Indira, who delivered their first talks as official Mozilla Tech speakers this last week. Thank you everyone for helping to spread your message about Mozilla and the open web. Shout out to all of our tech speakers and our new ones. I think we've got an event or two coming up this week. On Wednesday, April 10th, we have the Add-Ons community meeting in the ACE video room starting at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. If you are interested in add-ons, this is your opportunity to participate with the weekly community meeting. We also have some upcoming events and tickets as I've started listing in the wiki. I'm not going to go through each of these, but you can check it out. There are a dozen or so conferences or opportunities for you to attend, participate, and learn. If you are interested in getting complimentary tickets to any of these events, please reach out to Sandra Pershing at spershing@mozilla.com for more details. As we get Mozilla-sponsored developer events, they'll also show up in this calendar. Moving on to our speakers, we have a great slate for you today, starting off with Amy and Scott to give an update on the Add-Ons recommendation program. Amy, Scott?
Hi, I'm Amy with the Add-Ons team, and I'm here to talk to you about what's happening with add-ons in 2019. Add-ons or extensions are pieces of software, mostly written by third parties that modify and personalize your Firefox. About 40% of Firefox users have installed an add-on. The add-ons team works on the underlying API that powers this capability, the hosting and distribution site called AMO, and the ecosystem's communities, discovery mechanisms, and operations. Add-ons provide users with capability to shape their online experiences, but they can also pose a security risk. We blogged about this last month and laid out the need, now more than ever, to deliver on the trust that users put in us. We explored many ideas on how to make things safer for our users. We even considered ceasing to host third-party extensions on AMO as a way to protect users. We left nothing off the table because we had to consider all options. After a lot of discussion, we decided to continue hosting third-party extensions on AMO and support our ecosystem. So AMO is not going away, but it does need to evolve to keep up with threats. That could mean making big changes to the way we've been doing things now and in the future. This year, we want to make it harder for users to find extensions that aren't vetted, while putting in front of them extensions that meet our highest standards of security and utility. One of the ways we're doing this is through a new model of discovery called recommended extensions, which Scott Devaney will talk about in a bit. In addition, we'll help users make better decisions about what they install. We'll make improvements to our framework and operations to catch malicious extensions faster. And we'll do all of this more efficiently to reduce resource needs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott in San Francisco, who will tell you more about the recommended extensions program.
Thanks, Amy. If you could forward the slide, please. Great. So yeah, I'll try to shed a little more detail on the recommended extensions program. This basically represents an evolution of our editorial practice in an effort to ensure we're putting safe, vetted, and high-quality extensions in front of users. Do the slide forward? Because it didn't here. But in simplest terms, what recommended extensions will be an actively curated list of content that meet the highest standards of security, utility, and user experience. We just published a blog post, which I think is linked on the wiki, which kind of unpacks that and provides a little more, quite a bit more detail of what that means, so please check that out. But you'll start seeing changes around this editorial practice sometime in June. We're in the process right now of identifying extensions we'd like to invite into this list, and later this month we'll be reaching out to developers to gauge their interest in participating in it. Should say that this will require a fairly active partnership with developers who are eager to work with us to maintain this content at the highest level. We have another slide. So again, I'm not seeing slide changes here, but another slide where you will see how these changes will reflect on Mozilla properties. On AMO itself, we'll have some visual distinction. Recommended extensions will have special badging that distinguishes them. They will also receive more weight in AMO search and various content filtering. Lastly, I want to quickly address how the community will remain involved in our editorial process. We have a history on the Add-Ons team of have an ongoing project that's the Feature Community Board. It's a revolving group of contributors that have helped us identify featured content on AMO. This will continue, though this project will evolve to accommodate the particulars of the recommended extensions program. So I'll have more info on that soon, but that for sure will be a part of this program and a critical part of it. So again, more info on the blog post that we just put up this morning, and we'll have more info soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Amy and Scott. Sorry for the slide difficulty there, Scott, in following along. Next up, we have me, Asa Dotzler, coming to you with the weekly Firefox update. Firefox 66.02 is our current stable release. The gradual rollout of blocking autoplay of media with sound has completed. So when we launched Firefox 66, we didn't turn this feature on for all users. We rolled it out gradually, and that gradual rollout has completed. So assuming that users have grabbed their latest update, they should be enjoying a much more pleasant internet experience. Firefox 67 is in the beta channel, and it moves to stable release on May 14th. Beta 9 and 10 shipped this week of 16 plans, so we're past the halfway point. If you're keeping track of things and would like to get your feature landed, now is a great time to consider getting it in. In the last week, we've uplifted about 60 changes to the beta channel, including that updated David decoder I mentioned last week. This is going to give some of our users an earlier boost of speed. It looks like about a 3x performance improvement for certain older CPUs, so that's really exciting. Firefox 68 is in the nightly channel, and it ships to our stable release on July 9th. Over the last week, there have been, let me update this, a little over 500 bug changes landed in nightly, including these notable ones. Firefox now requires a user interaction for push notification prompts. This is an experiment we're testing out on nightly. We noticed that when we enabled push notifications, the web they abused the feature. There are a lot of sites you visit that have no business offering you notifications, and the first thing they do when you load the page is give you the Firefox notification pop-up. We consider that an annoyance and a little bit obtrusive, so we're trying to reel it back in a little bit. Now you actually have to interact with the page before they're allowed to give you that notification prompt. We'll see how that goes on nightly. Retain Display List has been enabled for Android. Retain Display List is a performance optimization that helps get content to your screen a little bit faster. This was enabled about a year ago on Firefox 61 desktop, and we've just now enabled it for Android. I've linked in the wiki to a blog post that describes Retain Display List. It's some pretty cool technology updates to our rendering pipeline that should make pages load a little bit faster. Next up, CodeMirror is now accessible in Firefox. CodeMirror is a JS text editor used in the developer tools. And previously, when you tried to do things like edit as HTML in the developer tools, it wasn't accessible to you through a screen reader. And as we work through dev tools to make it more accessible, this has been a pretty big win for us. We fixed a regression that was causing pinned tabs to shift off the left side of your screen. Some of you may have noticed this. If you opened up enough tabs to get the tab scroller and then closed it, your leftmost tab sort of halfway jaunted off to the left of the screen. That was out there for a week or 10 days, kind of annoying, but it's been fixed. A crash that a lot of macOS users were seeing on the new Twitter. If you got upgraded to the new Twitter in the last month or two, and you were on Mac, you might have been seeing pretty frequent crashes. We figured out what was going on there. It was a long and involved process, but we've got the fix in, and hopefully as Twitter opens up to a larger audience, we don't see a return of that crash. Save to Pocket and Add Bookmark have been added to the Pocket recommended stories on the new tab. As some of you may know, we've been in the process of rebuilding the new tab experience over the last several months. And one of the features that people had requested that wasn't there until recently is the quick Save to Pocket or bookmark a page for any of those Pocket recommended stories. And last but not least, still behind an about config flag, picture-in-picture is getting some improvements. I've been playing around with this. I'm not sure whether it's ready for testing yet, but I'm foisting it on you all with the about config pref listed here. If you toggle the about config pref, you now have the ability to launch picture-in-picture from a video and play, pause, and close that picture-in-picture window. So it's got the basic functionality now. Seemed like a good time to let the world know about it. And with that, we will move on to our next update, which comes to us from Andrew Krug with the IT Minute.
It's time for the Weekly Minute Update, where we tell you all the things IT is doing to empower Mozillians in their mission to keep the web a global public resource open and accessible to all. There are 2 updates in today's IT Minute as we say goodbye to Q1 and begin the countdown to Whistler. Our first update comes from the Data and Analytics team. In collaboration with Open Innovation, we've launched the very first version of the Support Dashboard. The dashboard is used to track overall performance of an application we internally commonly refer to as SUMO. SUMO stands for support.mozilla.org. The dashboard is just a start, and the team will continue to add more components over the next few sprints. If you want to check out the dashboard, it's available at the link below, but currently only open to staff Mozillians. That's the minute, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Andrew. Exciting news. Next up, we have Emma Humphreys coming to us with an update on bug types and regression fields. Emma?
And good day, everybody. This is Emma Humphreys from the release management team. First of all, happy hockey playoff season to everyone, unless you're a Bruins or Golden Knights fan. Meanwhile, I want to tell you about some new features that we've recently released in Bugzilla. Sorry. Okay, let me get back to it. So, and I apologize. Hold on a second. I had this ready to go, and I shouldn't have done that gag. I apologize. The first new feature that we have is regresses and regress by fields. In the past, y'all have been using the blocks and block by fields to track regressions, and that's overloading a field. So we wanted to pull regress and regress by into their own fields. I've got an example open for you right now, so you can see that on the left is a bug that was resolved quite a while ago, but introduced a regression. which is the bug displayed on the right. So you can access this just again from the edit bug field. So if you do run across a new regression, once you've identified the commit that caused that regression, go ahead and fill out the regress by fields. Those are linked. So if you update regress by, then the bug that introduced the regression will be its regressions field will be updated. The next is this typology of bugs that we've introduced. You've probably seen this if you're in one of our offices. You've seen this on the Corsica displays, that we now have 3 types of bugs. So what I'd like to do now is quit my share, and I'm going to mute myself and ask AV to run the video.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about a new feature in Bugzilla. We're introducing bug types. That is, you're going to classify new bugs and existing bugs in Bugzilla according to one of 3 types. The 3 types of bugs are task, defects, and enhancements. We decided these 3 types to make it easier to understand the work that needs to be done. Tasks are changes to configurations, updates to defaults, adding a user to a system, or making refactoring of existing code. Defects are actual bugs that are found during QA by the community, regressions introduced by code changes, crashes, and other errors, including security bugs. Enhancements are changes to an existing feature or new feature work. When you drill into a bug from a bug list, you'll see the type of bug listed there in the upper left-hand corner of the bug. When you click into a bug to edit it, notice that the type field is directly above the importance fields. Those importance fields are priority and severity. Notice that the enhancement severity is no longer there. That's because we needed to eliminate it, since enhancement is now a type of bug. This is going to alleviate a lot of confusion on what bugs are features versus bugs versus tasks. If you have questions, please see our repository for documentation, mozilla.github.io/bug-handling. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh wait.
Thank you, Emma. Next up, we have Mike Hoy coming to you. Mike is someone who makes friends on the internet.
It's true, and I bet I'm going to make a bunch today. So let's get right into this. Like a lot of things in Firefox itself, there are features of Mozilla, the organization, that have been around for a long time, and the people who care about them at all really, really care about them a lot, and I'm going to talk about one of those today. I know this is going to surprise a couple of people, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The question of what comes after IRC is currently on my desk. We've been using IRC for a long time, and it's served us really well for a long time, but a lot has happened in the last couple of years in that IRC itself is a much more hostile environment in terms of discoverability, participation, and just the raw number of bots and bad actors on IRC in general, as well as our IRC instance in specific. And one of the challenges of that is that we no longer have 24/7 coverage there from our ops center. And the worst case scenario for that is that we can't see or address a bad actor or a large number of bad actors, in the worst case for a couple of days over a long weekend. And that means that we can't meet the bar that we've set for ourselves to provide a safe, sustainable, professional working environment for our colleagues, for our community, if we continue to insist on relying on IRC as our principal public-facing open development forum. The other side of that is that the utility of these modern communication tools is kind of hard to argue. Without getting into the specifics of which one I'm talking about, threads are useful, notifications are useful, Being able to easily share diagrams and animations, however silly that gets sometimes, is also really useful for explaining what you mean by a particular design thing, or what you're experiencing when you're seeing a bug, either in animation or in layout or something like that. And turns out the numbers bear that out. Just as one example, and I know they aren't directly comparable, but just as one example, the number of people who are in the WebVR Slack channel right now outnumbers all of our non-Rust IRC channels combined right now. The number of people who are lurking, for example, in the Golang Slack channel, and that's just the Golang Slack channel, is an order of magnitude larger than all of our IRC usage combined. The upshot of that for us, the upshot of all that new utility and new usability, openness of participation and discoverability, is that a lot of our internal teams have already moved to private, semi-private, Gorilla Slack instances, many of the other open forums now that are available. And I'm sure that the half dozen or so of those Slack instances that I'm aware of is really only scraping the surface. The good news of that is that we've got a bunch of good choices now for modern, safe, synchronous communication tools. Where's that here? A lot of them are being used by other open source organizations. A lot of them are being used day to day and being field tested by communities that we support, that we care about. The bad news for that is that if those teams, if our teams, if the people we work with have to stand up their own communication tools, their own communication services on any of those different alternatives, that when the bad people show up, as the bad people are periodically inclined to do these days, either alone or en masse, those teams are on their own as far as safety, as far as CPG enforcement, in terms of managing, I should say, the quality of their workspace. Their teams are on their own, and that's really not sustainable either. The other bad news, and I know this is going to be bad news to a lot of you, is of all the options that we're looking at right now, Slack is still on the table. I've reached out to a number of you quietly over the last couple of weeks to try and understand how we still use IRC, why we still use IRC. Some of it's muscle memory, a lot of it's utility. There are a lot of real use cases there that we need to address and that we care about a lot. I'll be sharing that document a little bit later with you, but right now that document is basically the kitchen sink, because I ask people not only for how they use things now, but what they want. And of course, when you ask people for what they want, they tell you. So this is where we are right now. My next action is going to be to take that document and try and distill it down into a set of real actionable requirements, of real choices that we can make of the available technologies that we have to hand, some of which are open source, some of which are not, some of which are federated or federatable, some of which are not. And to be able to identify, or at least distill that down to a set of options that really meet our needs, that'll enable us to develop, not just develop in the open, but to develop safely in the open, to be a manageable, safe, participatory environment. We're asking people to participate in Mozilla and in the open development processes that we value is not functionally identical to asking them to walk home at night alone, right? Where we can still protect people, protect our communities, where we can still do something about bad actors when they show up, but also where we can still hold up our commitments to the mission, the manifesto, and to our goals of working in the open in front of the world. So we don't have a formal schedule for that yet. Formal schedule is I make the requirements doc and then I announce the schedule then and figure out what the next steps are going to be. You'll hear about that from me in the next 2 weeks. If you have questions, concerns, you can find me on IRC. You can find me on Slack. Have a good day. Thank you,
Mike. Thank you for keeping our people safe. Next up, we have Miriam with the weekly Emerging Technologies update.
Hello, headlines coming to you from Emerging Technologies, and we in particular wanted to give you a heads up that we were at IEEE VR in Osaka a couple of weeks ago, and in addition to particularly epic karaoke experiences, watch out, Whistler, E.T. is coming for your karaoke glory. We also participated in a number of workshops, so we wanted to tell you a little bit about those. Blair gave the keynote at the 4th IEEE VR workshop on K-12 embodied learning through virtual and augmented reality, or KELVAR. and he gave a talk entitled Reshaping Learning Environments with Immersive Technology, building on his work both with AR and hands-on experience with middle school students, and also some of the work that we've been investigating using hubs and other VR setups for distance learning and the ability to focus the attention of children of all ages in VR versus giving them those in-world immersive experiences. And all, of course, in the service of enhancing learning. Diane Hosfeld also presented Mozilla's position at IEEE's first ever workshop on ethics in VR. This has been a bit of a hot topic, especially the last couple of weeks, about whether it's too early to have ethical frameworks for technologies like VR. At Mozilla, we do not believe that it is too early to have this conversation, and Diane showed up to really forward our positions on what a VR specific ethical framework should look like for representing people, for removing financial barriers to Blair's research. If VR and AR becomes much more common in classrooms and training, how do we make sure that those technologies are accessible and don't drive divergence and inequality in learning outcomes? And as VR becomes more social, how do we make sense of how we moderate and filter and prevent harm in these social environments? All things that we're understandably passionate about. Thank you, Diane, for representing us there. There was also a lot of interest in our announcement on WASI. Last week we mentioned Mozilla's role in forming WASI, the WebAssembly Systems Interface, bringing WebAssembly outside the browser. There's been a strong response to that with over 34K views of Lynn Clark's Hacks blog post and coverage in a number of prestigious outlets. There was also a lot of conversation on Twitter about that, and we found this one tweet from Solomon Hykes, founder of Docker, to be particularly telling. And he said that if WASM and WASI had existed in 2008, he wouldn't have needed to create Docker in the first place. If you're curious about WASI and how it works, please watch the demo on YouTube. Thank you, Asa.
Thank you, Miriam. Another great update from Emerging Technologies. Next up, we have Sierra Reed coming to us from San Francisco with an update on voting for Pocket in the Webby Awards.
Hi everybody, I'm Sierra and I actually work on Pocket. While I'm based out of Mozilla, I would do the social for Pocket. And we have something that's pretty exciting. Pocket has been nominated for a Webby, and hopefully you opened your TLDR email and saw it in there. But just in case, if you didn't, I'm here to remind you to please go vote for Pocket. This is kind of like a popular vote, so every vote counts. There's a link here in the wiki. It's in your TLDR email, and you'll be seeing things going out in social very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sierra. Next up, we have Lisa Gray coming to us with an emergency check-in tool update.
Hi, everyone. This is Lisa Gray. I am coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas today. Just talking today about more security concerns. I came to you last week with an update on the cameras in our spaces. Today, I'm coming to you to introduce a new tool, emergency check-in tool that we've adopted at Mozilla called X Matters. X Matters is a mass notification tool, quite simply, that allows a quick and immediate response from you via an application. Now, what it is and what it isn't. X Matters is not linked to emergency services. X Matters is a way for people on our staff to find out what staff is being affected by news of a man-made or a natural-made disaster in one of the locations where we either have an office or a remote worker. I am happy to answer questions on all of that, but because we have such a widely distributed workforce, often when we hear tales of something bad happening around the world, our first reaction is, oh my gosh, I hope my colleagues are okay. We're working on the visibility of those notification dashboards. X Matters will be defaulted for everyone that's on staff to receive notification via their LDAP email address. So congratulations, you're all 100% enrolled in LDAP and notifications for X Matters. ask that or the first ask really that today is to ask those of you who don't read your work email 24 hours a day to consider enrolling in a mobile app or SMS texting, SMS interface with X Matters, so that you can receive emergency notifications should you be away from your Mozilla email or your Pocket email. This impacts all of our staff, MoCo, and Pocket. If you have additional questions about it, please check out the MANA page that is listed there, or reach out to me, L Gray, Gray, at mozilla.com or WPR at. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Keeping Mozillians safe, a good day. As we wrap up this meeting, we have 3 introductions. The first coming to us from Tara Roberts in Vancouver.
Member on our diversity and inclusion team. Kelsey Whithauer is based in Mountain View, and she's our project manager. The next few months, she'll be project managing the Outreachy internship program. And Outreachy is an awesome program that provides paid internships for people who are underrepresented to get started in open source. So please give a hello to Kelsey in Mountain View.
Next up, we have Michael Cooper coming to us from Portland.
Yes, come. Hi, Mike Cooper. I work on the product delivery team. I'd like to welcome Alyssa Sobo. She's going to be joining us making experiments on Firefox a little better.
And Selena coming to us from Portland with an introduction.
Hello, I'm Selena. I'm on the Firefox runtime team, and I'm here to introduce Ni Nguyen, who is joining us to lead the networking team as their manager. She has previously worked in web analytics, private cloud storage, and network security. She will be based in Vancouver, BC, and there she is. And she will also be here in Portland on Thursday and Friday, so please give her a warm welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Kelsey, can I get you to come up in front of the camera real quick? Sorry, I was remiss in the first introduction. We have Kelsey Whithauer, who is a diversity inclusion project manager. Just wanted to get her face in front of the camera so you all would recognize her. Welcome. Sorry for the embarrassment.
No, you're fine.
I'm going to do a quick reload to see if anything else has come onto the agenda. It doesn't look like it. With that, we are all wrapped up for the week. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Until then, keep on rocking the free web.